Hello babes, welcome back to the channel. If you are new, welcome. So I wanted to talk about Carrie Bradshaw in this video. I've made a few videos doing episode breakdowns, but she's one of the few characters on this show I haven't done a full character breakdown on yet, which we will be doing. So let's get into it. Welcome to Iconically Iconic. Now, while I am not a fan of Carrie, I don't hate her either. I think hate is an extremely strong word. It takes far too much energy I simply don't have the time for and can invest in so many other things. And it affects you in ways you may not even realize. Disliking someone, however, is completely different because we won't always like everyone, and that's just part of being human. But Carrie made the show what it is. And while I can't relate to her, one thing I did have in common with her is a love of fashion. The difference, of course, is that Carrie was notoriously financially irresponsible. I've even seen women trying to emulate this, putting themselves in debt and trying to be a Carrie when it comes to finances, and it doesn't go well. I mean, the overconsumption and overusing of services like Klarna and Afterpay you see today is what Carrie's dreams are made of. When we first meet Carrie, she's vibrant, fun, and even likable, at least before she meets Big. But in the very first episode, within a few minutes, we see a recurring pattern in her behavior. And that is that she has this tendency to run back to her exes. She believes that seeing them means she has something to prove, so she ends up hooking up with them, whether to convince herself or them of something. But that never ends well. Your ex is an ex for a reason. If someone mistreated you or broke your heart, why go back? People will pretend to change, but eventually they remind you why it ended in the first place. It just rarely works out. Now, part of this, I believe, ties back to her unresolved daddy issues, and I really wish the Carrie Diaries had been more accurate in portraying her childhood because it directly conflicted with what she said about her upbringing on Sex and the City. She never mentioned having a sister or her father raising them, yet the prequel show completely rewrote her backstory. So I definitely think they dropped the ball there. Almost like they didn't even bother to do the research, which is a pet peeve of mine. Please don't do a reboot or anything and not do any research because viewers notice, and how are you going to rewrite history? Now, the problem people have with Carrie isn't that she's flawed. Flaws are human and all the women on the show have made mistakes, yet we still love them. With Carrie, though, it's different. She rarely took accountability. Whenever she made a mistake, hurt someone, or even had a shameless affair with Big, she never grew from it. Instead, she would make excuses, flip the situation onto someone else, or act defensive when confronted. That constant cycle made her unlikable because at what point do you finally say, you know what, I've made some foolish mistakes. My goodness, I have. It's time for me to grow up. But she never did that. Her friendships revealed this pattern very clearly. When Charlotte confronted her about the affair with Big, Carrie brushed it off, and not even so much brushed it off, but she made herself out to be the victim and tried to make Charlotte feel bad for making her feel bad.
I am not that woman. Please, Charlotte. I feel bad enough already. Good. You should feel bad. Do you ever think about how she feels she found out?
She thought her feelings should come before everyone else's, no matter who she was hurting. And while there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first, if you've always put others ahead of you, that wasn't Carrie's case. At least when we meet her, it's not. She often disregarded her friends' feelings altogether. When she was upset, she lashed out, like the time she went off on Charlotte for not giving her money, popping up at her house and treating her like she was her child. It wasn't about her not having the money because multiple people had offered to help her. No, it was about getting it specifically from Charlotte, the one friend who held her accountable. She wanted to browbeat or guilt Charlotte into bending. And she also felt like, you have a lot of money, so you should give me money. Excuse me? No, ma'am. I don't think so. And the entitlement was insane. She acted as if she had a right to Charlotte's money, all while ignoring the fact that her financial mess came from her own irresponsibility. She had a closet full of Manolos but horrible credit and nothing to show for it. A woman well into her mid-30s who still hadn't grown up financially. Am I saying you're going to have everything figured out? No. But this was the fault of Carrie, and this was always the case with Carrie. She ignored credit card bills, acting as if her not opening them would make them disappear. She spent money recklessly on cabs and absorbent amounts of money on shoes and handbags. She was just reckless in all parts of her life. Her friends also had to walk on eggshells when it came to their opinions about Big. Carrie could dish out unsolicited advice even if it meant hurting someone's feelings, but the moment someone gave her honest feedback or their opinion in a loving way, she couldn't handle it. Of course, you're not going to make your friend feel bad. However, you're also not going to feed into her ego. You're not going to make her think that everything she does is correct. You can be loving and supporting, but also being realistic and honest with your friend, because that is real friendship. I am not your enabler. I am your friend. And isn't it always the people who love to dish out harsh opinions, who can't take even the smallest bit of criticism themselves? Because the way she would criticize the girls, she couldn't even take them having an opinion on her getting back together with Big because they didn't want to see her hurt again.
We've got this physical, chemical kind of connection that's hard to shake, so lay off, okay?
So now it's gonna be a casual sex thing?
Maybe?
Well, that's gonna work. Even I am not that naive.
No, I'm really not in the mood to see a movie anymore.
She carried on like a teenager, not just in her friendships and relationships, but in her financial choices too. And that's really the core issue, Carrie's refusal to grow. Even when she had Aiden, who was the complete opposite of Big and actually loved on her and was there for her and didn't make her question where she stood with him, she didn't appreciate him. Now, I'll admit she and Aiden were opposites and probably wouldn't have lasted even without the cheating, because I feel like Carrie wasn't her full self with him and she felt she couldn't be her full self with him. But her behavior proved that she craved chaos more than stability. Her relationship with Big was the perfect example of this. It was toxic, and the more he pulled away or said he didn't want anything serious, the more she clung to him. Again, I think that ties back to her unresolved daddy issues. I think Aiden showing his love and vulnerability to her may have scared her a little bit because she wasn't used to that, so she had to ruin it. And that's exactly why she always whipped back to Big and connected with him so much. Because at the end of the day, they were both immature and refused to grow up and actually work on themselves to be better. Big may have been slightly more mature than Carrie in certain ways, but both of them were toxic and stuck in this childish high school type mentality when it came to their relationships. Big still wanted to be the hot jock playing around, and Carrie was the pick-me who would do anything for the attention of a man, even if he was disrespecting her and other women around. The girl who thinks a guy cheating on his girlfriend with her makes her special. Carrie especially would throw tantrums whenever she didn't get her way or whenever someone told her the truth about herself. If you didn't agree with her, she'd shut down, give you the silent treatment, and refuse accountability. She thought it was fine to poke fun at her friends, but if they did the same, she would lose it. And I'm not talking about their fun little banter. I noticed that Carrie didn't really get jokes thrown at her the same way the other girls would joke around with each other. Samantha would take it on the chin. Charlotte would take it on the chin. I mean, she would screw up her face a little bit, and so would Miranda, but they never really got on Carrie like that. And the problem is Carrie was continuously coddled within this friend group. Sure, they called her out from time to time, but nothing ever stuck because there were no real consequences. Everything got brushed off as, oh, that's just Carrie. But in real life, not everyone will keep forgiving you. At some point, people cut you off for toxic behavior in selfish ways. You don't just get to live in arrested development forever without consequences. You won't be able to keep friends. And people who actually value themselves won't allow you to gaslight them and have outbursts like a toddler the moment they check you. No one wants to deal with someone who has no growth. As humans, you're supposed to evolve, learning from your mistakes, apologizing when you're wrong, and actually changing. Not just saying it, but actually changing. And that was Carrie Bradshaw in a nutshell. She was iconic, yes, because there would be no Sex in the City without her. Stylish, yes, but emotionally stunted, selfish, and forever stuck in her own cycle of immaturity. It was like the moment Carrie took 5 steps forward, she took 10 steps backwards. And she didn't really want to change. Carrie wanted everybody around her to change and not herself. Now, I am not saying Carrie was a horrible friend. She wasn't. She could be sweet when she wanted to be and supportive. She wasn't openly cruel, though she did like to throw little jabs, but she wasn't devious or evil either. She did support her friends, but usually only for a little while until the focus shifted back to her own problems. And that was the real issue. Carrie's drama always mattered more than anyone else's, almost every time her problems took center stage, even though most of the chaos in her life was her own doing. It was avoidable, but it's like she thrived off drama, which some people do, and they think healthy relationships are boring, which is a video for another day. And listen, I know some people take their dislike of Carrie to the extreme, which I honestly think is ridiculous. Whether people like her or not, Sex in the City wouldn't be what it is without her. Carrie made the show. Did she get on my nerves and work my nerves? Absolutely. But I know without Carrie, there wouldn't be a show. These characters are also, however, written for us to analyze, relate to, or even dislike. And some people definitely miss that part too, because when certain characters are written, people start acting like these characters and take the characters who are on TV as the person who wrote the show saying, this behavior is okay and you should be able to do it and get away with it. But the show is written for us to analyze and talk about and discuss. That's the point of creating TV shows, movies, etc. So I'll never understand why people get so deep in their feelings about commentary videos on them and go into fits of rage like you're talking about them. It's very weird, unhinged behavior. But the consistent bashing, even going so far as to attack actors who play them, is bizarre to me. That's where things go to unstable territory. We don't know these actors personally, we just know the characters. There's a huge difference between finding Carrie annoying, selfish, self-absorbed, and disliking how she treated Aiden and her stalking habits, than treating her as if she were some callous, wicked person. She wasn't evil. She was just a hot mess express who refused to take accountability, and that's why she remains one of the most divisive characters in TV history. And with that being said, this video has come to an end. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Also, make sure your notification bells are turned on so that you always know when I upload, and I will catch you guys in the next one.